So, what are the extra features then? The Museum of Orphaned Concepts, a guide tour of ideas that Irrational Games discarded or reworked heavily during the making of the original Bioshock. Ooh! Well, this sounds like my kind of thing. Okay. So, it's like a concept art. Wow! It's a big old concept art gallery. So, it's obviously like the Big Daddy designs. Look at that one, it looks like Gollum. Like the Pokemon Gollum. Oh. Oh wow, it had like a little cannon on its shoulder. That's cool. And then, there they are. I love the massive like weird fists just made of metal. Bioshock Gatherers? Ugh. What were they? Ooh, not a fan of them, whatever they were meant to be. Then we got Hanging Sea Life. Oh, wait. Not so much as a cut concept as an Easter egg for observant museum visitors. These sea creatures can be seen swimming past the player's view during the Bathysphere ride down to Bioshock. Yes, they can. And you can see them, like we saw the whale inside that big museum area. Not museum, whatever it was called. So, can I interact? Oh, oh, you look down here. Early Splicer concept art. Moving from grotesque to human was a slow process. Early concepts saw melees grew monstrous arms. They were struggling to work out how it would be for marksmen. Early Big Dabbit. Early Big Daddy concept art. The rosy type. The Pouncer envisions a construction worker repurposed for a protector. Yeah, I could see that. It does make sense that they used to be constructors. And then there's like a coloured version. Very cool. What is this? Exhibit Stitchy, the first splicer that Irrational created for Bioshock. Stitchy was used in many early concept demos and was a fully functional game with kinematics, hit reactions, and voiceover. It takes long to realise he wasn't a good model. It's probably the worst abortion that Irrational has ever made. Oh lordy, look at him. Oh dear. He's had better days, hasn't he? So this is more like splicer art, so this is slightly more human-like. So I'm assuming then, let's go back and read up about the concept here. The Gatherer. Its job was to reclaim Adam from corpses around Rapture. This is the earliest iteration of the idea behind the Little Sister. Since the Gatherer generated absolutely no sympathy from players, the team experimented with concepts for featuring a number of animals, including infamous dog in a wheelchair and later a grotesque miniature humanoid. Finally, the deformed child inspired the Little Sisters. Nice, okay. Oh, I like this. This is really fun. And this is again more the same, like the grotesque melee arms. What is this guy? All my days. Well, I think he's left-handed, you know. For solidifying the fiction around Adam, Irrational experimented with the idea of being an external injected substance. Here you can see us playing around with Adam being mechanically injected. Sean Robertson says, so this splicer's got vials of it on his belt. Model was created but never made it into the game in any form. And there's his little Adam things. And some of the concepts. Very, very cool. Here are some more concept art, protector art. So this is when they sort of were moved across. And again, so from left to right, melee, ranged, and slow projectile. Melee, ranged, slow projectile. That's interesting. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this guy. Grenadier Splicer. The Great Elephantine Splicer was an early Grenadier from the same period of development as Stitchy and Hooker. He was a guy who spliced to carry around giant grenades and throw them at you. Built and textured but never had any animation, hence the T-pose. And then obviously the lack of textures on some of his gear. Oh, what did I look at there? Early environmental study. Vision demo of Bioshock. Small little level showing concepts of the game. And this is some of the concept art for it. Oh dear. People stuck outside. Oh, it's another splicer. So this one was Hooker. So he is the spider splicer sort of basis. Very cool. Alright, what's up here then? More concept art of areas. Big Daddy concept art bursting through a wall. I didn't even hear that audio about the rogue Big Daddy. I mean, we came across him and we murdered him, but I didn't hear it because I was so frustrated about the little sisters. And then this is the submarine bay area. Obviously, where we're trapped up in the control room and Atlas's family. Not actually Atlas. Exhibit missing link model. Or actually, I would be interested if it, like, no, it's not. But I kind of wonder if for a while they thought maybe they would have an actual Atlas and then when he gets murdered here, he gets taken over by Fontaine, but obviously that's not the case. Missing link model. The missing link between grotesque early designs and the human splices that ended up being used. The last bad model, before moving on to what actually went into shipping the game. After playing with him for a while, we said, why don't we just use humans instead? Scooby-Doo monsters are a bit too inhuman to invoke any empathy. So, and this was the last one that they didn't use. Obviously, you can see the textures were pretty low res. They weren't fully fleshed out. There's some concept art. Very cool. Oh, what? Oh, no. What is this? Okay. Early Big Daddy concept art. The fourth protector concept, created with an organic slug attached to it. Wait, they were doing Futurama? Like, with the brain slugs or whatever they're called? They considered doing it like Futurama style? Interesting. So they're going to have, like, 3 styles of Big Daddy. Oh, look, you can see its tentacles, like, smashed through the glass, and it's, like, mind-controlling. Early creature combats, early pieces done for Bioshock. So when they were still working on SWAT 4. It was going to be an undersea city, and there's biological experimentation, so it obviously was more, like, monster-based, and I'm assuming this is pretty similar, yeah. And they're pretty cool creatures. Look at that face on that one. Oh, what's that? Iconic Rapture concepts. This is one of several paintings that try to portray the most important elements of Rapture at once, that would define the ruined underwater Art Deco aesthetic. Very, very cool. What do we got here? Yam Hand model. The poster child of the conceptual phase that preceded the decision to go with human enemies. Again, so another one of their... Before they decided splices were going to be more human-based, they went a little bit crazy and went for some monster-style things. And, yeah, that's a good point they've got at the bottom there. Mr. Robertson said that as you went, like, away... Wait. The Scoopy monsters got goofier and less scary. Yeah, so... By keeping it slightly more humanoid, it feels a little bit more real as a concept of switching, you know, of affecting yourself and, like, altering your own body. Whereas, I mean, this... What is going on with him? He's got scarecrow mask on. Massive, like, tentacle thing. Imagine if he just moved. That... Oh, okay, and this is another, like, Rapture one... Well, this one. Fleet Hall. So Sandra Cohen's Fleet Hall. This is created after level building had begun. They needed to, like, work out how the space was going to look, so they did this. Very, very cool. Is that the museum? I mean, we didn't read... Hang on, we didn't read what it said right at the top here. Original model for the bouncer... Flat-headed drill at the end of each arm. Big Daddies were envisioned as the builders of Rapture, with weapons modified from tools they would use in its construction. When the gatherers were reimagined as little sisters, one of the bouncers' drills was turned into a glove hand so they could interact. That makes a lot of sense. And then these are the Slow Pro Thumb, which is the internal name for the prototype Big Daddy, who had an enormous hook and fired iron bearings from a barrel. Wow, what a name. Survived long enough to become a fully functional AI, but the team eventually cut him to focus on polishing just 2 Big Daddy types. Oh, appears in Bioshock 2, throwing mini turrets. Oh, I don't know if I'm looking forward to dealing with them, but that's very cool. Was that it, though? Is there anything hidden away back here? No. Nothing hidden behind there. There's Fleet Hall. It's very cool. And then the main part of the city. Oh, that's just that was the initial thing, right? I think we've seen everything in the museum. I mean, this is a nice little thing for them to add that they really didn't need to. Just adds a little bit to the remastered thing for people who are interested in how the game came to be. But yeah, really, really cool. Right, what else is there? Go back to the main menu. Because there was director commentary. Oh, I didn't grab loads of them. I missed most of them apparently. Oh no. Is Excelsior like the final one? Because I'm pretty sure I found one right at the end.
Choice is a thinly veiled dynamic that drives many single-player gaming experiences. And while many developers spend a lot of time trying to convince players that choice is real and authentic in their games, the truth more often
Bitrate of this video.
is a superficial concept in gaming narrative. Bioshock confronted this idea head-on, searing into our minds a innocuous 3-word phrase with an unforgettable new meaning. Would you kindly?
Oh. So these are obviously like little commentary videos. Oh, camera died again. We'll have a little look at one of these. We won't watch too many of them.
Of course, one of the most memorable moments in the game is the "Would you kindly" phrase and the reveal of how that's been motivating the player throughout the entire game. It's still, to me, one of the most classic kind of narrative moments in games in the past decade. What's interesting about that phrase is that it didn't always start like that. Can you tell us sort of about the evolution?
Look at that little system model in the back.
The player, and there was once Excelsior was the phrase once.
Yeah, this is. I'm trying to recall some of this. So we had the idea, like, because we had the Andrew Ryan scene very early, and we knew sort of all the events that would happen. There were phrases before there was "Would you kindly." The notion existed and what it meant and what it was, but we didn't actually have the phrase "Would you kindly" until later. So we had a bunch of terms we threw in there. And like Excelsior was it for one point. That's probably comes from my Stan Lee fanboyism.
Was that like so throughout the game? It would have been like Excelsior.
Just randomly
There are some things when you're making games you just sort of throw in as like, we need
Sounds
something.
cool
We
in
need
the
Why don't
something.
you head
here.
over there, Excelsior?
And then it sits there for a year.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you kind of forget it's not good, right? And then something comes along and says, dude.
Seriously?
Yeah. Or you meant
Excelsior?
it to be like a stub in. You never
Right.
meant it to actually gain traction, and then you're like, oh crap.
But
Just
that
forget
sense
to go
of
back. I can imagine that happens so often.
being repeated throughout the game that you wouldn't really realize its meaning
Yes.
until later. That was there very early on.
Yes, yeah. And the fact that you would have something that seemed like a non-thing and then came back at you like a freight train later on was there from pretty early.
Sit, would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Run. Stop. Turn. A man chooses. A slave obeys.
So that phrase evolved, but talk about that, the sort of meta-narrative of, being in a game, thinking that you have a sense of choice and making these decisions, but then obviously realizing that the player ultimately didn't have choice or was conditioned in a way that they would react to that. That was, sort of a new idea for a game. Where did that come from on your side, kind of? Was there sort of a deeper sort of, meaning behind it?
No, look, I think I was always interested in the concept, whether it's, Oedipus, not to get too pointy-headed here, but Oedipus sort of thinking he has, I'm going to leave, this city and go to another city because there's been this prophecy about me and I'm going to avoid my fate and I'm in complete control, and then finding out he's not in control at all, to the Manchurian Candidate, which is a story I love about, somebody who you find out is just a puppet, living a life of a man, and Fight Club. I always love those kind of stories about who am I and what is my agency in this world, because look, we struggle. I think everybody struggles that. How much do we really have control over, and how much is our boss or parents or whatever telling us what to do? So that seemed like a natural thing for a story, and because it came from movies, that idea a lot, and plays. Yeah. I don't think it was very. There was a lot of. It hadn't been explored in games really, and games are particularly interesting because games.
Because you feel like you are interacting with choice, yeah.
And you're really being, most games, especially at the time, you're really just being railroaded down a corridor. It's very easy to underestimate gamers, and I think probably I did a little of my own underestimation there, that it would be a little too pointy-headed for people, but people seem to really engage, because it spoke to an experience they had, a struggle as a gamer they've always had, which is like, I want to control, but how much control do I really have in this game?
True. And Sean, it was also something that, was a great surprise when you played through the game. And I'm sure even for people on the team, did everyone know that when Ken was sort of doing it, or did it was revealed as people played through it?
I think, at some point the entire team knew. It wasn't, it was something that was talked about with a smaller group before, it was brought to the entire team. Early on, when you heard the idea, and you just kind of clicks, right? You're like, okay, I totally get this.
Did people get it? I seem to remember people looking at me like I was.
It's
not
the specifics, and maybe it's the Excelsior, or maybe you're talking about the Excelsior time, but the idea that you don't really have choice, and exactly like you said, you played through how many video games, and everybody's game is going to end the same way. You're going to kill these people, you're going to pass through these checkpoints, and you think you have a choice, but ultimately the only real choice is stop playing the game. So the idea that we're kind of like taking that on resonated. Now the actual, like, is it Excelsior, or is it the Latin phrase I forgot, or if it's would you kindly?
See, here's how I remember it, and I could be, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I can remember being so surprised by the outside reaction, because I remember the internal reaction being completely nobody connected or engaged to it. We worked on it.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of surprised by the outside reaction, because I kind of thought it was like, as I said, it's a bit academic, right? Yeah. And it could also be a function of...
We're playing it close to the vest.
I could be misremembering it, or it could also just be a function of nobody making the game had the experience of playing it through and getting to that moment.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it was revealed to them in advance of really playing it, so it wasn't that surprise.
Yeah, they had seen it in all its really half-assed, development stages on the way.
Out of order.
Yeah, out of order and all that.
And it's not really something you can play test over an afternoon, because it takes a little while to get to that point.
You need to lack the knowledge about what the game is to be able to sort of have that experience all the way through. I know you guys have talked about the idea of Atlas, the voice actor changing, and it was, I guess, very important that you nailed that actor, right? And you trusted that actor until there was sort of the Fontaine reveal and sort of understanding that.
Yes, trust was everything there, right? And so there was something about either the actor or the writing or the accent that just people immediately said, this guy's no good.
Right.
When the first Atlas we had, because you have to trust this guy, and if you don't, there's no trust, there's no punch in the gut. I think we've really focused on making him have personal stakes in the story as well. That he had his family trapped. Of course, it was all fiction, right? But he had skin in the game. He sort of spoke to you as a friend, and especially because the whole world was so hostile to you. I think it took a while to get that exactly right.
Listen, I've got a family. I need to get them out of here. But the splicers have cut me off from them. If you can reach them in Neptune's bounty, then maybe, just maybe... I know you must feel like the unluckiest man in the world right now, but you're the only...
Yeah, they really did nail it in the end, didn't they?
Child again.
Sean, what do you hope is the kind of lasting legacy of Bioshock? 10 years hence, a lot of things you guys were doing, have sort of become common now, right? With upgrades and moral choices in games and whatnot. But it was really pioneering work a decade ago. When you reflect on it, what do you hope people remember the game for sort of pushing forward?
For me, it's telling a story with the medium, and how We used everything available to us.
What about the narrative?
We used the to set up the backstory of Rapture and really create a sense of space, which I think is vitally important to getting the players to trust that, you know, to sit down and kind of like just be in the space and let these things happen. You know, even the radio logs, the rudimentary animation that we had at the time. I mean, we really sat down with the tools that we had and at our disposal and tried to tell a meaningful story. Maybe not meaningful, but something that would be memorable to people that they could take away and, like you said earlier, have that water cooler moment where they're excited enough to talk about it after they put the controller down. So for me, I think the legacy is that it was a story well told.
For me, it was a sense of place, being like the Rapture's a real thing, even though it's not. You know, it's actually a very crude, you know, from the time, you know, a relatively crude bunch of polygons and texture maps. You know, it's only, the original game's only in 720, I think. And I played a lot of it. We were testing them on
only in 720p.
Television.
Deary me.
It felt like a sense of place in the music.
That's crazy.
And the characters, that it's a real place. And I think that my memories of the Bioshock games is that I take away that Rapture's a real place and Elizabeth's a real person. Those are the two sort of big things that stick with me with those two games. And that's sort of what I'll always, you know, carry forward with me in my life.
Bioshock is, you know, it's a place.
It's true, actually. The escort in this game compared to the escort in Infinite is so different.
Type of experience. When you think about, you know, your career, where you guys want to go, I mean, that idea of those types of games, do you miss it now that you've sort of moved on to other things now, or do you feel like it's sort of, you've closed that chapter?
I mean, it's always a part of what you do. Like, System Shock 2 was a part of Bioshock. But it wasn't System Shock 2. It was you know, you're growing past that and trying out new things. I think Bioshock and Bioshock Infinite, and even going back to SWAT 4, those will always be a part of my experience as a game developer and what we're trying to do with the medium. So I don't think it's something that you just draw a line and say, you know, we'll never return, because there's always lessons that you can learn and things that you bring with you to the next project that you're working on.
I don't think the new game is going to, like, people are not going to be surprised that this game is, new games from us. They're going to see a lot of what we had done before in terms of world building and aspects of storytelling. The goal is to sort of, you know, move away from the you really have no choice kind of thing, and that's a very, 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 very hard problem, which we spent years working on. But we're building upon a foundation of stuff we've done before, just trying to go in a different direction with it. But it's always going to be part of our DNA.
What game are they talking about there? I'm not sure. That was a cool little thing, and it looks like there's quite a lot of them they recorded on different parts of it. But yeah, really cool. Nice to include that sort of thing in a remaster, so it's not just exactly the same. Obviously, I've missed quite a lot of them here, but yeah, we won't look at the others. We'll save them. What's additional content? Oh, there are challenge rooms. Puzzle solving, exploration, combat, and experimentation. Oh no, not little sister ones. No, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that. Alright, well, I'm gonna leave it there. That's Bioshock finished in all ways, apart from obviously the challenge rooms, but that's fine. Well, you know, not the end of the world to not do them, but that was the main story complete, having a look in the museum and a little bit more. Really cool. What am I going to play next? What have we got downloaded? I've got Sid Meier's Pirates. I've been playing through Dawn of War 2 because I've had no internet for the last, well, from the end of Monday through to about this time yesterday. I had no Wi-Fi, which was not very fun. What else have I got downloaded here? I've got the Tomb Raider games. They're like newer Tomb Raiders. Prey as well. Lawn Mowing Simulator, which sounds absolutely fantastic. I'll have to give that a go at some point, even if it's a quick one. Doom 64, which I don't know if it's a good Doom game, but I got it for free again at some point on the Epic Store. I did notice that Fallout 3 Game of the Year edition was, oh, it still is, until the 27th of October, free on Epic. So I would keep an eye out for that. What is this game? Warhammer 40k Mechanicus. That's free from next week. What is this? Yeah, what is this?
Disgusted me. One day, the crude biomass that you call the temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you.
Oh, okay, well, it stopped loading. I wonder. Maybe I'll give that a go. I do like 40k. Is it an RTS? Can't actually tell. Oh, what is this? I'm not sure it is going to quite be my kind of thing looking a bit further into it, but yeah, maybe it's worth a try. Hey, it's free. It's free, right? There's no harm in giving games a go. You know, it's always going to be a new experience. And a game called Vampire as well. Had really good ratings, and again, I got it for free on Epic, so I might give that one a go at some point too. But yeah, that's going to be me done. So thank you for watching, and enjoy your monster yawn. Dearie me.